My mother hates that I play D&D and it hurts me. I hate to be this blunt, but it sounds like your mom cares more about your family reputation than your happiness. She should be proud that you're bringing people together and making them happy. Sorry you have to go through this op. It's always tough seeing that your family aren't quite who you thought they were. Ask her if she'd be as disappointed if you had set up a sports club for kids, a chess tournament, or seminar for writers. Because in essence, D&D is not much different from any of those things. You can also ask her if she would hire Vin Diesel or Judi Dench, because they do play. Or you can just stand your ground and tell your mom to shove it. My mom fully believes it's a rape and a woman murder simulation. I tried explaining that my wife and I play a park ranger and a magical doctor respectively, but it's no go. The demonization of D&D is so fucking pervasive that some people cannot separate their fantasy that it is an addictive satanic ritual from the reality that it's just a hobby. Right? D&D is literally listed on my CV as my hobby. My last job interview we ended up talking about it for 5 minutes, and 2 months after I joined I ran a mini game with him on my lunch break. D&D is job interview gold compared to other hobbies. So many people have a vague awareness of it, but know nothing about it, and therefore have a curiosity, and once you start talking about it, you can describe it as a game of communication and problem solving, with intense planning requirements and time management skills. Your mom is being foolish. That's the open and close of it. You do not have to take foolishness seriously. You don't owe that to anyone, not even your mother. If you like it, you like it. Be self-actualized. You have a career, a home, a family, and a hobby. You getting the attention of the local newspaper is only a positive thing. Your mom doesn't understand, and so her judgments can be discarded without a second thought. Easier said than done, I know. That's your mom. Separate it from your mom, and take a look at the statements themselves, and they become much more ridiculous. My mom reacted the same way when I brought home my second Ed Day MG. And yes, this was 30+ years ago. She took the book from me, and said I'm going to read some of this and prove what I said. She gave it back to me about 3 hours later and said never mind, here's your book. That was the end of that discussion. Now did we have other fights about gaming? Yes, we did, but that was about me gaming and not doing my homework. By letting this get to you, you've told us that your mom knows how to weaponize guilt. Statistically speaking, she's trained you in these dark arts as well. Naturally, your next move is to ask her to play a quick one-shot to see what it's all about. Base the story on her favorite nursery story or fable from whatever religious/cultural background that lead her to these conclusions. Making more assumptions, you're from some race/culture that tells all their children about some monster/dragon, and the brave heroes that slayed it. When in doubt, St. George and the Dragon, and the Wailing Woman can be adapted really quickly for a ball or one shot. To simplify everything, build out 2 to 3 PCs for her to choose from, all ideally key players in the story you're looking to tell. Keep it all super rules light. Traditional character creation is not going to go well here, so put out 3 minis and have her pick which one fits her. Naturally, this pitch will fail. That's something like a DC 25 persuasion roll. Barring an IRL Nat 20, she'll give you a hell no. But that's the trap you set. She lost the moment you asked her to play. When your pitch fails, tell her about the story you intended to tell. It's based on a childhood fable she told you growing up. Was she living in a fantasy when she told you those stories? Did telling you those stories make her a negligent mother? That must be why you're escaping to fantasy worlds all the time. Were there bad morals in those stories? Should you not be repeating them to your friends and family? Should you drop all this and focus exclusively on work? Why did Mom take time out of her day to tell those fables when she could have been focusing on her career? All those hours cuddled up with you reading books. Likely a treasured memory for her, must have been horribly damaging for her career. Now you feel really bad that she was wasting so much time on you. Did she really feel that time was nothing but a waste? Those are some of your favorite memories growing up. What did her, or your father's, boss say when they found out your mom spent so much time reading to you and living in that fantasy world? That must be why Dad couldn't hold a job. Mom did nothing but live in a fantasy world with the kids, so Dad had to pick up the slack. Somewhere in there she'll protest. Hopefully before you get to the cuddled up reading books bit, because that's a soul-stabbing question that will bleed for a bit. When she does, ask her to explain the difference between this and that. Make her be specific. Wait politely for an answer. Don't let her leave, and don't let her dodge it. Bask in the silence. First, to talk loses. Then ask her if she'd like to play. If you want me to write up a fable, shoot me a YouTube link and I'll throw something together for you. Damn Mom. This isn't 1970. We have about 20 million players and the industry is now worth around $1 billion. 7 hours ago I had a job interview for a position that will net me a 50% raise. One of the questions I was asked was about what my relationship is like with my current team and what I like most of it. As I finished answering, I mentioned that I even play D&D with 2 of my co-workers. 3 of the 7 interviewers' faces absolutely lit up when I said that and asked me about my character. The one running the interview jokingly said, "Okay, we are done, you are hired." Will this get me the job? No, but if it comes down to me versus another candidate, I'm willing to bet they will remember me over one that doesn't share a hobby with them. You shouldn't have to be productive 100% of the time. Your leisure time is yours to do with as you see fit. Money is just means to an end, to have a good life you can enjoy. But you already make good money, and you have a happy life, you've made it. Most people strive to be where you are right now. Dude, truly no offense, but your mom sounds like a total jerk. She definitely sounds like she only cares about how much money you and your father make and seems like she'll do anything to make that improve. Honestly, ignore her. You've got a life, you make good money, you work hard, and your wife has no complaints. Your mom has no right to shit on a hobby you enjoy, and she certainly doesn't have the right to call you a scandal or lazy. And I'd like to see her name show up in the newspaper, let alone have a title like King of the Dragons. That's awesome. Getting that done is very impressive. Congratulations, man. My parents are Christians, my father is a minister. When I was growing up in the late 90s, a friend tried to introduce me to a fantasy board game. My parents freaked out, actually thinking the board game was satanic. I wasn't allowed to hang out with that friend anymore. They threw away a box of Magic the Gathering cards they found in my room. I got grounded over that. They warned us against such dangerous games, especially D&D. It didn't really stop me, of course. I just started lying to them more. I told them I was playing TIE Fighter at JD's house, when we were actually playing AD&D 2nd edition. I love my parents, and I wished they had taken the time to get to know me better, to understand what I was doing, and why I was doing it. I wish they knew me as well as they know the Bible. Eventually, I explained the concept of role-playing through the West End Games Star Wars RPG. I don't think they liked me playing that in high school, I think they were just happy I wasn't sneaking out to go to parties. And, decades later, I'm not afraid to tell them I'm playing D&D. I tell them it's like that Star Wars RPG, but in the world of Lord of the Rings. They understand it, as much as they want to understand it, now. But I feel like I'll never forget the years they spent hating something I love. I suppose this post is kind of a downer, but I wanted you to know I feel your pain. I really know what it's like. My relationship with my parents isn't perfect, but it's not a perfect world. We still love each other, and they understand that I spent time with my friends every week, even if they don't understand why we roll dice instead of play poker or something. I hope you manage to find a middle ground with your parents, and I trust their opinion won't stop you from doing the things you love. Some people don't know what D&D is. They just think because some stories told using it have the capability to be evil, and that evil features, and that it's detached from reality, that it is evil and a waste of time. They don't see the beauty in storytelling that defines D&D, and that some people need an escape from reality to unwind and have fun. It's kind of surprising the number of comments suggesting that you should ask her to play or watch a game. Works 99% of the time. Seriously? A reasonable person might be willing to be exposed to something they are ignorant of, to change their mind and make a more informed opinion. The level of vitriol in her words does not make me very confident that she will be reasonable in that way. This is someone who I would see burning your books if you still lived at home. Not someone who wants to learn and try new things, especially things she has been misled to hate. Replying to that tirade with "wanna try it out" seems to almost definitely lead to souring the relationship further. At most, I'd try catching her in a good mood and asking to talk about it. Explain that what she thinks she knows about it is not from reputable sources. That you, an adult, whose judgment she hopefully trusts somewhat, have experienced this game firsthand, and you would like the opportunity to, with civility and respect, discuss the game, explaining what you know and believe about it, and possibly alleviate any concerns that she brings up. Presumably she believes that forming an opinion out of fear and ignorance is bad, and framing it that way might get a foot in the door, so to speak. If you do manage to get a conversation, remain calm and respectful, and demand she do the same. As long as you stay in debate territory, you're okay. Don't go into argument territory, and don't let her go there either. The instant she raises her voice, stop engaging and ask her to remain peaceful. If she can't do that, leave. In the best case scenario, you might get through to her, and you might even get her to the point of being willing to play or watch. I won't hold my breath for a change of opinion. Though? Again, people who feel this way about the game aren't likely to change their mind for anything, are more likely to get angry at such an attempt, and to make bad logical justifications or handwave away their absence of logic as beliefs, to prevent earnest communication. Edit, you don't owe her, or the hobby, or anybody, any of that though. Nothing wrong with deciding it's too much effort for too risky a payoff and saying not my monkeys, not my circus, and just distancing yourself from her. Damn, that's rough and I'm really sorry to hear that. I suppose remnants of that satanic panic mentality still exist today and I'm sorry to hear that you were a victim of it. I would hope that this doesn't ruin your relationship with your mother, but mending relationships requires both parties, so she'll need to work towards that as well if that's something she wants. For now I'd probably distance yourself just until she's had a chance to cool down, as it sounds like she was quite upset. After some time you can then try to repair the damage done to your relationship. On a side note, maybe you can try to understand why she reacted in such a way, and maybe this will help put things into perspective for you. Is she overly religious or was raised that way? Does she belongs to a church or a social group that would ostracize her for this sort of scandal? Does she have some sort of past negative experience with the hobby, either directly or indirectly? In the end, none of these of course justify how she acted, but the first step to forgiveness is understanding. No company will ever hire you. Get real. I used to play when I was younger, then got away from it to work more. Then I got into law enforcement and now we have a group that gets together almost every other week. You've got to find some outlet for yourself and mom should be happy it isn't nicotine or alcohol, potentially something harder, as an escape. Roll on, my friend. Fun fact, you don't have to use your success as an excuse to justify playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's just a game. Even if you are poor, single, living in your parents' basement, with no prospects or conventional measure of success, you would still be entitled to enjoy playing D&D. You could lose everything and it would still be okay, because it's not something you earn, it's just a game, and your mom doesn't know shit, thumbs up. Sometime in our mid-20s we all discover our parents, the ones we have looked up to for authority and stability, are actually batshit crazy. Sounds like your mum may have a personality disorder. There are ways such as grey rocking to manage your interactions with her. Any company that doesn't like you building creativity, and practicing social skills, is desperately trying to find a way to automate you out of a job. So you should probably keep your savings flush and have backup plan. Honestly, I feel like any employer who knows about D&D would see 10-year DM as a positive if you slapped that on a resume. It's not easy and it's indicative of a certain skill set I imagine many employers would value for team lead positions. Just being able to fucking corral a group semi-consistently is already better than some people I've been subordinate to. Our satanic panic, words will never be enough to drag these imbeciles out of the dark void that is their own ego. Straight up, the only advice I can give towards this is stop engaging with your mother ASAP. She sounds like an emotional vampire to me. And I use vampire literally, and figuratively here. Remind your mother that it's not 1954, and that companies in this century don't give a shit if their employees have nerdy hobbies, so long as they still do their job properly. Also, it doesn't even bring you money, waste of time. What? I want you to remind your mother of every little thing she has ever done that didn't bring in money. Every single luxury item she's bought, every single vacation she's ever taken, hell, even the man she chose to marry. If money's so important, even at the expense of happiness, why didn't she go gold digging and marry a multimillionaire, huh? Speaking of, since your spouse enjoys D&D, if you think of your wife, then you would continue to deepen your bond with your wife by engaging in a hobby both of you can enjoy together.
Hey there, fantasy fans. If you're looking for an epic listen, you have to check out Rosamund Pike's narration of the Wheel of Time audiobook. Rosamund Pike brings so much life to Robert Jordan's world. Her performance adds an extra layer of depth to the characters, making the story even more immersive. Whether it's her portrayal of the fearless Aes Sedai or the intense magical battles, she nails it. It's like experiencing the Wheel of Time in a whole new way. And here's the best part. You can get it for free with Audible's 30-day trial of Audible Plus. You'll get access to this incredible audiobook and more, completely free for a month. So if you're ready to dive into this massive fantasy world, this is the perfect way to start. Don't miss out. Check the link below and start your journey today. 100% free for qualifying people. Completely free. Click the link.
D&D is a fantastic game and perfect for your future kids. It teaches teamwork, creativity, improvisation, time management, critical thinking, problem solving, basic math, how to keep calm under pressure, and offers a participative community setting that no TV show, video game, book, or movie could possibly provide. Nothing against your mom, of course, but it seems that she's just stuck in the same D&D as for shut-ins and Satan worshippers mentality that was prevalent when the game first came out. It sucks to have a parent be disapproving of something you love, especially when it comes to something they really haven't given a chance. I'm sorry that this is something you're going through. Hopefully it can be resolved peacefully or she can come to terms with you being a successful and self-reliant adult who is doing something they love that isn't a detriment to your future. Exactly? This is a very special circumstance, but I work in a library, and it's been heavily hinted at that they want me to start a D&D group there for the patrons. It came up at a retirement party for a coworker because my boss's son just started playing. She was asking me about how it works and if it could be something we do at our library, and goddamn if I can get paid to DM. All bets are off. If this is uncharacteristic of your mom, and considering she undoubtedly knows how highly you hold her in regard, is there something else going on in her life right now that she's having a difficult time dealing with? Perhaps a significant loss or health issue. Something might be scaring her in a way she hasn't been able to constructively articulate. You mentioned just getting married. Had that been an issue? I haven't seen anyone else suggest this, and it's a total long shot. Maybe try inviting your mom to come to watch a D&D game one day. Set ground rules for her obviously, no commenting, legitimate questions okay, and then just have a normal session assuming your players are cool with it. Getting to see that you're not sacrificing children or worshipping Satan, or for that matter that you're aware that you are not in fact, Golmog half-orc warlord, might help her cool off. Wow. First of all, your mother didn't even know about the passion you and your wife share, which leads me to believe that you don't feel safe talking to her about your interests. Second, might have a wrong view of it, but she didn't show you any faith that you know how to run your own life. Third and worse, she seems more concerned with what people think rather than what you think. I'm sorry on the one hand. On the other, it's best to have a more accurate idea of where our relationships really stand, especially those with so much influence in our lives. Let me guess. Your mother watches reality TV. Only watches drama movie where the subject is abusive X hits victim Y. Also has a mentality comparable to that of someone from the 60s or 70s when it comes to social lives, where you have to take into account how and what other people think of you. Yeah, ignore them like the plague. That's what I did. Your life will only improve. You can choose your friends. You can't choose your family. Your mother clearly cares about the family reputation with a mix of satanic panic and fear that as a tabletop RP player, you cannot tell the difference between reality and fantasy. Some odd reason, playing pretend in the backyard is okay, seeing movies or reading books is okay, but writing a character down on paper and using dice instantly makes the human brain unable to tell what is real and fantasy. It's like video games and cartoon violence, where the world was a shining utopia of peace and harmony, without violence and conflict, until Tom and Jerry and Nintendo. Now look at us. So many anvils dropped on innocent people and so many turtles needlessly jumped on while we attempt to kill goblins that aren't there. Just boomer nonsense. Stuff was just different for them growing up, and although it's frustrating, it sounds like it's coming from a place of concern, just also from a place of misunderstanding. For my parents, I try to compare it to their hobbies. My mom would read non-stop, and once I finally got her to realize video games gave me the same thing as reading gave her, she chilled out a lot. Unfortunately, it really sucks when parents refuse to accept their kids' harmless hobbies. I'm an anime fan as well as a D&D player. My dad helps run a convention that always shares time and space with an anime convention, and every year I have to listen to him come home and talk about what a bunch of freaky, useless, perverted, creepy, annoying, living in their mom's basement, add whatever derogatory term you want and it'll fit, group of people they are. And every time he's complaining about it, I just think about the fact that he knows I've been to anime conventions and I've been to the one that he's complaining about. 10 years I've been listening to those degrading comments. A little late, but this is similar to me and my mom. I've been playing for about 6 years, and every time I mentioned it or brought it up she would get upset. Finally, my baby sister, who still lives at home, asked me about how to get into D&D. I mentioned this to my mom and she freaked out, demanding that I not teach my sister how to play. So I just asked her, "Why do you hate D&D so much?" Turns out she had a co-worker back in the early 90s who let D&D take over his life. Apparently he spent so much time and money on the game he started to neglect his wife and kids, so they left him. He ended up quitting his job, so he could just play D&D. So I explained to my mom that most of us are not like that guy. I did my best to educate her on the matter. And I guess it worked. BC, while I was living at home during the early months of the pandemic, she let me teach my sister a few things about the game. So my advice, find out why she hates D&D and try to clear up her misconceptions. Hopefully she isn't so devoted to hating the game that she won't listen at least a little. Your mom needs to grow up, stop listening to her friends, and walk away from all that satanic noise. You don't need to even defend yourself with the job, family, and basement stuff. You do you and unfuck yourself, mate. Also, you married now, and if you're so is cool, then be cool. How has this never come up before? You're 28 and I would assume have been playing D&D for quite a while. Surely you have had to know how your mother feels about it. I'm also curious if you come from a religious family. There was definitely some D&D propaganda going around in those communities, I think about 15 to 20 years ago. I've been hiding my fantasy habits from my parents for years, just as my mom tries hiding her addiction to romance novels. It's supposed to be hidden, you see. My family believes that all fantasy is garbage. For me, it's freedom. I played a bi-weekly homebrew pirate campaign for 2 years with people my parents would not have approved of. I started D&D in my 30s after having TV, movies, and books. And I simply have never talked to her about it. I am sorry that she used her words to hurt. I don't suggest being vindictive back, as some here have done. You and your wife are a new family now. Shape it in imagination and reality, that's something humans have always done. With fireside tales and gothic romance, with cave paintings and TV shows. D&D can be epic, and the challenges faced together are memories that I never will forget. It seems like your mother has some very misguided ideas as to what D&D is about. Best advice I can give for your discussion is this. Focus on the positives of D&D. Rather than argue about the reasons she thinks it is bad. New information is better at changing minds than debunking old information. Point out that it brings people together, and that it helps people to decompress and relax from life, similar to watching TV or reading a book after a long day of work. Focus on feelings. She needs to understand just how hurtful her misguided assumptions were to you. You need to point out to her just how hurtful it was when she used her misguided assumptions about your hobby to accuse you of being a bad person, ruining your life. Focus on the feeling part of it, point out how parents should be supportive of their children's happiness instead of undercutting it. And 3. It's not what you think. If you have to address, debunk her assumptions, then you'll want to make sure you understand her perspective/confusion about it in full. Ask lots of questions, try to find out where she got the idea that D&D ruins lives or whatever else she has assumed about it. And then bring counterexamples. You have a great job with good pay, you and your wife have a great relationship, you know how to manage your time and keep up with the rest of your life, etc. If you'd like, you can use me as an example. I literally talked about D&D in a job interview for a job that I got offered the job for. I explained how being part of a team, taking into consideration other people's priorities and goals, and being considerate of each other's time in order to maintain a D&D game are all very useful skills for a team in the workplace. D&D has this very unfounded stigma associated with adults who enjoy it, much like adults who play video games or don't have kids or who live alone. I'm happy your mom apologized. If she brings it up again in a negative light, I'd ask her to join or watch one of your games. When your DM sneaks a little personal reference into the game or creates an encounter for your character based on something important to you in your personal life, it's downright magical and can be very emotional. Just wanted to add, I'm a massive reader. I love it. But it fairly boggles my mind that anyone thinks it's virtuous somehow. Like, people are out there making New Year's resolutions to read more. Reading is exactly the same watching TV. You do it because it's fun. People are weird. Everyone gets different idea of what is good, and most people never really look at why that is. It's not about you, or her, it's about the random weirdness that makes up a human. Roll your eyes, sir. Roll them, and then have a nice time with your mother. She's wrong. But aren't we all? I'm sorry your mother doesn't understand. For you, I'm a mother and I'm teaching my kids to play. I hope she learns more about it and chills out. It sounds like really outdated stereotypes. It's way more common now, sheesh. To cool things down, there's not much to say other than calmly stating facts, and not engaging. In the end, if she considers anything that doesn't make money to be a waste of time, you likely won't convince her that it's worth doing, but maybe you can convince her that it's not going to make you a social pariah. Eesh. You know what they say. Haters see you rollin', just keep on rolling. Smile? I can safely say, you are a grown-ass man who seems to be successful in multiple aspects of your life. Do not let your mother bring you down. Do what makes you happy and keep being successful. There are some things that parents will just never be able to comprehend. This is something we have to accept. They have to learn to accept that we do things that we enjoy that they are unable to. Back in the 80s, religious conservatism, fueled by a Republican regime, dominated the country. D&D was widely persecuted, along with heavy metal, rap, and video games. The war on drugs started then, too. D&D was considered Satanism, black magic, sinful. We played anyway? Do what you love. From the sound of it, your mom cares more about her own reputation than for you to be happy. Not that she doesn't love you, or course, but parents of a certain age, mostly boomers, can get stuck in old patterns of thinking in which family reputation means more than an individual's hopes and dreams. Especially Christian families. Not sure if your mom belongs to any of these categories, and I'm sure she's a very nice and caring lady. I'm just a random dude on the internet, after all. I hope it works out for you. Perhaps your mom still sees it as a demon-worshipping cult like they thought in the 80s. King of Dragons sounds awesome to us, but for Christians it may sound satanic. Have you tried to sit down with your mom to explain what it's really about? I started playing 3.5e in my teens, grew up, career, marriage, kids, etc., and then found my way back to this wonderful world. I still hold that any adult who gave D&D a real chance would fall in love. It is a wonderful outlet, isn't drugs, helps me de-stress from work, a lot recently. I am a respiratory therapist, and is cheaper than drinking. My wife put a cap on my dice sets. Sounds like what your mom really needs is a good campaign. No company will ever hire you. If anything, it shows you can inspire and bring people together. That's a much sought for skill in many professions. Sorry to say, but your mother seems to be stuck in a past that no longer exists. Many people don't even read newspapers anymore. She also seems to believe that the value of a human is based on the monetary value they are paid by others. That's a very detrimental and unhealthy way to look at life. It sounds like she knows jack about D&D. I just explained the concepts to my disappointed parents, how it's like a board game but with a bit of acting thrown in, and how I'm not worshipping Satan or something, and I'm not getting super attached to my characters and going to get suicidal when my elf dies or something. I've even played a couple of games with my mom, sister, niece, and nephews. She did alright. Just refer to DM as GM. Because Dungeon Master has a real S and M connotation. I mean, the game is basically a board game plus improv. There's this mindset among a lot of boomers where work is all that matters. Having fun is for children and for pensioners, not for working adults. Those should spend 100% of their time hustling to accumulate as much wealth as possible. Another example of the mindset is people not understanding why someone would choose a more fulfilling job over a higher paying one. In their eyes, work plus suffering equals money plus virtue, so naturally fun and relaxation must be the opposite of that. It's the toxic version of the Protestant work ethic. Combine this with the satanic panic stuff boomers were bombarded with in the 80s, and it's not strange someone their age would be afraid and ashamed to see a family member play D&D. Of course, this is a bit of an exaggerated generalization, and I don't know your mom, but consider it might just be a cultural thing. It's hard to escape from a mindset you've been surrounded with all your life. If your mom seems unwilling to change her mind about the subject, I would personally just stop bother trying. Oh, and by the way, congratulations on getting into the newspaper. Had a similar experience with something else where my mother called it a sect and pretty much we argued for quite a while. Mothers will be mothers, with their own opinions and different views on life. Children are not supposed to please their parents, parents are supposed to support their children. In the end, you should be a bit selfish and do the things that bring you joy as long as you reserve time to spend with loved ones. Does your mother watch TV for entertainment? From her own argument of it doesn't bring in money, that is complete waste of time and she should be ashamed. In terms of advertising, you play D&D OG, you're good at teamwork and improv and time management. Getting a consistent game takes time management skills. Clearly no company wants that. Oh wait, they all do.
Hey adventurers and fellow Redditors, are you tired of hearing the same old battle music during your D&D sessions, or just looking for the perfect soundtrack for your next epic quest? Well, let me introduce you to Amazon Music Unlimited. With Amazon Music Unlimited, you get access to over 100 million songs, ad-free. That means whether you need an intense combat playlist, relaxing tunes for a tavern scene, or just something to vibe to while scrolling Reddit, we've got you covered. And it's not just about music, there are thousands of podcasts too. So if you need a break between campaigns, you can catch up on your favorite shows. Plus, there's the best part. If you sign up today, you can try it free for 30 days. No commitment, no hassle, just endless music and podcasts tailored to your taste. So whether you're crafting your next D&D campaign, painting minis, or just chilling with your party, make your soundtrack legendary with Amazon Music Unlimited. Hit the link below and start your free trial now, because every adventure needs a killer soundtrack.